Welcome into the Inside Scoop. We're live from Nashville, Tennessee, and today's Sunday, September 22nd. I'm your host, Josh Newberg. Another busy weekend. We're going to talk Colorado, Auburn, LSU, and more on today's show. It's a big one. So, guys, need you to do me a favor. Hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. We're the best recruiting channel on all of YouTube, so I need you to jump on board right now and hit subscribe for me, please. All right. Now, let's take a look at the top 20. No big shakeups this week, but just want to get it started. Now, remember, these are the recruiting rankings. You got Ohio State still there at 1, Bama, LSU, Georgia, Auburn. That's your top 5. Texas sitting there at 6. You see USC at 10, Oklahoma, Notre Dame, Miami at 13, and they're moving up. You got Michigan at 15, FSU 17, 19 UF, and Georgia Tech is 20. All right, I know some of you guys are on the fence. You've been thinking about joining On3. Well, now's your chance, and you can do it for just $1 using promo code BERG1. That's right. I can get you On3 for just $1. Everything that Steve Wiltfong, Chad Simmons, the great Pete Nakos, you can read all that inside intel for just $1. Go to on3.com. BERG1, that's your promo code, and you can get it all for just $1. All right. Let's talk about some of the biggest developments of the weekend. There was big games, meaning there was big visits happening, and we'll start with priority Michigan target. Linebacker Nathaniel Owusu-Boateng from IMG Academy. He visited Michigan over the weekend, and boy, did he see a thriller. Remember, Michigan scored a touchdown, 37 seconds to go to take the lead over USC, and they win 27-24. Boateng said it was an electric atmosphere. He said it was a battle-tested win, and the teams never folded when they were down. It was his first game at Michigan, and boy, did it sound like they made a big impression. Now, he's one of a few top 100 prospects that are uncommitted. Most of them are committed to a program. Michigan, you got to feel good about where they stand, but they got competition. Notre Dame, UF, Ohio State, Texas, and USC, those are some of the major contenders, but Michigan has to feel good about getting them to campus and the way the team performed on the big stage. All right, the next development I want to talk about was number 1, 2026 defensive lineman Jakeem Stewart visiting LSU, 6'5", 270. The number 1 defensive lineman in the 2026 class, but there's rumors that he's going to reclassify, and he's going to reclassify to 2025, meaning his recruitment's going to come to an end in December. So whenever he decides to reclassify, it's going to be a very sped up recruitment. We're going to talk about that. I'm going to have Shay Dixon on. Go find that video. But for LSU, I mean, they already got the number 1 QB in the 2025 class. That's Bryce Underwood. They already got the number 1 running back in the 2025 class. That's Harlem Berry. Imagine if Jakeem Stewart were to reclassify. Now, I don't know if he'll be the number 1 defensive lineman in the class, but he will be a highly ranked 5-star in a major position of need for LSU in the 2025 cycle. So got to love where LSU stands for the current number 1 player in the 2026 class. All right, next development. FSU lands a commitment and they get their first win. Wow, things are changing quickly in Tallahassee. No, I don't know. Maybe they're not. But they did get a win, and they did land a commitment from running back Byron Lewis, of a 4-star prospect from American Heritage down in South Florida. Now, Florida State is looking for 2 backs in this class. They've landed their first, and their second that they would like to sign, Usmain Chroma, was on campus for that game against Cal. So we'll see what Florida State can do here. They got their first win of the season. They get their first commitment of the fall. It's a big one. Byron Lewis, running back from American Heritage High School. Now, we'll see what happens down the stretch, but FSU, they need to get back to their winning ways if they want to start landing some top recruits. All right, the next development was another big one. Top 50 edge prospect decommits from Clemson. Now, this one goes way back. Isaiah Campbell, he committed to Clemson back in January. He felt good about his decision, but the question is, was he ever all in? You know Dabo Swinney's rule. Once you commit, you cannot take visits to other schools officially or unofficially. And Campbell didn't do that, but he has kept communication with numerous schools, and one of them was Tennessee. I think the 2 teams to watch coming out of this decommit right off the bat is Tennessee and UNC. We'll see if there's any others that get into the mix, but right now, visit to Tennessee is set for their game against Alabama on October 18th. I think that's significant. Like I said, we'll see if any other programs can get their foot in the door here with Campbell. All right, Quarterback Duce Knight back at Auburn. What a development. Now, he's been to the Plains 3 times this season. He's seen Auburn lose twice. You got to wonder, are these 4 INT performances a good thing? If you're Duce Knight and you're standing on the sideline, and one of the biggest factors in your recruitment is, can I play early? I mean, you might look at what's happening at Auburn a lot differently than the fans on the message boards are looking at what's happening at Auburn. But on the flip side, I also got to ask myself, if Auburn won some of these games that Duce Knight was at, would he have already flipped his commitment from Notre Dame to Auburn? I mean, what's he waiting to see? He's been on campus a number of times. Heck, he's expected back next weekend for an official visit. So the commitment hasn't happened. At least it hasn't as of Sunday midday as we tape this. But Duce Knight is expected back on the Plains. Now, is he going back and forth with Notre Dame, or is this all just on his own timeline? We don't know. But these were some of the major developments of the weekend. Heck, there were so many developments on the recruiting trail that I don't know if I hit them all. You guys let me know, comment section below. What do you think were the biggest developments of the weekend? And how do you think some of the recruitments I just mentioned are going to shake out? Let me know in the comment section below. Let's head out to Boulder. We got to talk CU Buffs recruiting as Colorado beats Baylor. Now we got recruits on Flip Watch. We're going to break it all down after that thrilling, dramatic overtime win on Saturday night. Folsom Field, it was rocking. Travis and Shador put on a show. I mean, Travis Hunter, best football player in college football. Just best football player. Forget what position he plays. Forget anything. He is just the best football player in college football. And it has an impact on recruiting. We're going to break it down in this video. But first, guys, hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. Colorado recruiting has momentum, and we are going to talk about it. So jump on board and hit subscribe. All right. Now, maybe what I'm about to say has already happened by the time you're watching this video. I don't know how fast things are going to transpire here with Colorado recruiting, but the buzz around last night's win is palpable. We're going to talk about a few flips on the horizon. Let's look at where here they are. You got offensive tackle Carday Smith, who's committed to USC, Antonio Branch Jr., a safety committed to Penn State, and another safety, Byron Baldwin, committed to Indiana. Now, let's start with offensive tackle Carday Smith, because obviously the trenches, big priority, big need. So having a prospect who's the number 18 ranked offensive tackle in America, 6'6.5", 295 pounds on campus for an official visit was huge. Now, Carday Smith is committed to USC, but he committed early, I believe it was late spring, early summer. He committed to Auburn, took an official visit to USC, then committed to USC. So he decommits from Auburn, commits to USC right here on the On3 Recruits channel in August, and now he's on a visit to Colorado. I haven't heard many other programs kicking the tires on this USC Trojan commitment, but Carday Smith from Mobile, Alabama would be a huge addition at a position of need, and I think Colorado can get this done. So from what I've been told, sources close to this situation, Carday Smith, his recruitment has been heavily influenced by NIL. So what I'm saying is, when Carday Smith was committed to Auburn, he went out on that trip to USC, they talked business, and he decided, hey, I have a better opportunity here at USC. So what does that mean for Colorado? Well, I mean, hey, it's pretty simple. If they're willing to go above and beyond what it took for him to flip to USC, they could potentially land the number 18 offensive tackle in America. And I think that would just be a huge win for Colorado on the recruiting trail. Speaking of huge wins, I got to talk Prize Picks, because I love Prize Picks. And this week, thanks to Travis Hunter, I hit big once again. Travis Hunter hit on, well, I had him for more than 99.5 receiving yards. He smashed that. And then I paired that with Dylan Raiola, more than 22.5. Bang. This week, I'm going to back what works. I'm going to see what they set Travis Hunter's line at for receiving yards, because early on it was like 81, 82. Now it's up to 99.5. They can't stop him. And no matter what it is, I'm going to be honest with you, I'm hitting that more than button on Travis Hunter receiving yards. So give me your locks of the week. I need some more picks, maybe some NFL picks. Remember to use that Caleb Williams free square. All you got to do is hit 0.5 passing yards or more, and that gets you a win. Pair that with Travis Hunter, and now we won. So Prize Picks, it's super easy. All you got to do, you select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their stats, and place your entry. It's exciting. It's great. Fantasy sports made easy, and they make it really simple. I can submit my entry in less than 60 seconds. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay. It makes PrizePicks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. So, like I said, this week, give me your NFL picks. Drop them in the comment section below. Send me some winners. I need them. Now, you guys know PrizePicks also offers Apple Pay. You can get quick and easy deposits into your account all football season. And all you got to do is go to prizepicks.com/inside scoop, use promo code inside scoop, and receive a guaranteed $50 if you deposit $5. So go to prizepicks.com/inside scoop and use promo code inside scoop. Daily fantasy sports made easy. All right, let's get back to some of these flip targets. Safety Antonio Branch Jr., he's committed to Penn State, but he's exactly what Coach Prime's looking for. He goes 6'2", 172. He plays at Miami Northwestern High School. Now, we know Penn State. Juwan Sider does an incredible job for Penn State recruiting that South Florida area, and he went in and landed one of the top DBs, Antonio Branch Jr., but he's on flip watch, so we're going to continue to watch that recruitment. Maybe it happens this weekend. Maybe it happens this week. It seems like there's a lot of buzz around the potential of a flip there. Now, we also got to talk about Byron Baldwin. He's committed to Indiana. Another great frame on Baldwin, 6'1.5", 190 pounds, from Baltimore, Maryland. Made that early commitment to Indiana, but coming out of this weekend, Steve Wiltfong has already put his pick in. Now, Steve put his RPM pick for Baldwin to flip from Indiana to Colorado. I don't have a timeline on that, but hey, maybe when you're watching this, he's already done it. We'll see what happens coming out of the weekend. Couple of these flips with what Colorado already has committed, and you can see Coach Prime's cooking. I mean, he's got wide receiver Quanell Farrakhan Jr., cornerback Alex Graham from Detroit, Michigan, offensive lineman Chauncey Gooden from Nashville, Tennessee, linebacker Montrez Walker from Buford, Georgia. I mean, the pieces are there. The foundation is there. The foundation for this class is there to be really influential if Coach Prime is going to make this a long-term goal for his. Now, got a couple other pieces still out on the board, and the big piece of the puzzle is still out there, and you know who I'm talking about. Quarterback Julian Lewis from Carrollton, Georgia. I mean, when you talk about Travis Hunter and Shador and some of the guys that are going to be moving on, who is the future face of the Colorado Buffalo program? Could be Juju, right? Can Coach Prime get it done, though? That's the question, because USC, they're off to a strong start. Everything we hear from insiders is that Julian Lewis is really happy, not only with the start of the season, but also the recruiting class. USC has 20 commitments. They're knocking on the door of a top 5 class. We'll see how they finish, but Coach Prime can get this done. He's got to get him back on campus. I think that's the key to all this, because Julian Lewis, he's expected to be back at USC for the Wisconsin game. That one's on the books. I don't know right now of any other trips, but when Coach Prime does get him back to Boulder to experience what you guys got to experience last night, I got to imagine it's hard for any recruit, especially a quarterback, though, to say no to an atmosphere like that. So Coach Prime got to get Juju on campus. I think it will happen. Long season, still a lot of home games to go, but we'll keep an eye on that. But just moving forward, I mean, you can feel it, right? Colorado has the momentum back in their favor on the recruiting trail. A couple flips that could be coming real soon, but there's still more work to be done at the high school level. There's impact players there. We see it. We see the high school players that Coach Prime has signed making impact plays all over the field for Colorado. So I'm sure Coach Prime's going to clean up when it comes to skill players at the high school level. But can Colorado use this win to spark high school recruiting at positions of need? And I think they can. I think they can do it. What do you guys think? Let me know. Comment section below. Who is your most important target on this recruiting board? Do you think Coach Prime is going to flip Juju Lewis? I think that's the biggest question I have for you guys. Let me know. Comment section below. We got to talk Auburn recruiting. 5 home games to open the season, and that's one of the reasons why we felt like Auburn could make a run at the #1 class. Remember all the month of August, July, we felt they had so much momentum heading out of the summer, but the Tigers lose for the second time in 4 home games, and they do it in front of some really talented recruiting targets. We're going to find out if that plays into Auburn's favor. Like, does it help them on the recruiting trail, or are the Tigers going to start losing some of this momentum? I got Auburn Live insider Jeffrey Leon to talk about it, but first, Auburn fans, hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. Good or bad, we're here. We're talking Auburn recruiting no matter what, so jump on board and hit subscribe. All right, let's bring in Jeffrey Lee. Another electric atmosphere on the Plains, but the game just doesn't go their way. Jeff, is this the way? Is this going to help or hurt recruiting?
Oh, it's not going to help. I don't know to what extent it's going to hurt, but it's certainly not going to help. You know, like you said, going into this all season, it was not more so much of they've got to get to 7, they've got to get to 8, they've got to get to the number of wins. It was more of looking competent. It was more of looking improved, and everything that we've seen so far, especially in the 2 losses to one to Cal, one to Arkansas, was lack of competence on offense and even defense. The number of 3rd and longs Auburn gave up on defense Saturday against Arkansas was absolutely inexcusable. We've talked about good losses and are there such a thing? And you go back to last year, Josh, and you look at the Georgia game, you look at the Alabama game, never a good loss, but at least Auburn was competitive. They played till the end. They just gave up more plays than Georgia did. But it was a good game. They were competitive. There was a brief, glimmer of hope of what this program could be under Hugh Freeze. And you're going into 2024 going, hey, we're just missing a couple of pieces, and maybe we can get back on being competitive and maybe even taking the next step. And so you've got 5 games at home, and you're going, if Auburn could get out of here at 4-1, maybe even 5-0, what does this number 5 recruiting class look like after that? What kind of momentum do they gain from that?
Right.
And then, Cal comes to town, and it was the same old paint and thorn, and Arkansas comes to town, and it was same old Peyton Thorne in another jersey and another name, and Hank Brown. So it's going to be tough to recover. Now, what does this do to recruiting? It's hard to say. Mm-hmm. It really is. We know this. We've been doing it long enough. It's beneficial. I haven't said this Saturday after the game. The one beneficial thing I could find, one glimmer of hope, was the quarterback play being so bad.
Right.
And I almost thought after the New Mexico game when Hank Brown, who was a redshirt freshman, looked pretty dang good. And I'm going, man, that probably isn't a great thing if you're wanting to sign Duce Knight and you're pitching immediate playing time to him. Well, Duce Knight, of course, was back at Auburn Saturday for the Arkansas game. And he got to see that Auburn doesn't have a quarterback. They don't have a quarterback. So that was the only positive I could pull out of that.
That's how you got to spin it. I mean, that's what you do as a recruiter. It's easy if you're a salesman, right? It's easier to sell a great product than a product that's kind of faulty. But if you're a great salesman, you can also sell any product. And if you're selling this product to a recruit, especially like a Duce Knight, that's exactly what you can sell. That's really the only thing you can sell. But I got a question. You said we've been covering recruiting for a long time, and Duce Knight keeps showing up. If Auburn had won some of these games that he showed up at, do you think he'd be committed? And I say it because we all know what happens after a win. The recruits come into the locker room, everybody's celebrating, and those are the moments when a great salesman can get somebody who might be on the ledge to make that decision in an emotional state. But when a college team loses, you and I both know in recruiting, a lot of the times they shut down the locker room. There is no celebration. There is no chance for that Duce Knight to get up in front of the current team and tell them, hey, I'm committing to Auburn. So I'm not saying that the losses have scared him off because he keeps showing up and we expect him back next weekend. But do you think if Auburn was 4-0 at home right now, Duce Knight would have flipped his commitment already?
Duce is so difficult. With any other recruit, I would say probably yes. Mm-hmm. I think it's so personal with Duce and his relationships with Notre Dame. I think it's just so difficult I don't know if he keeps putting it off because he doesn't want to tell the girl that he wants to break up with her. Oh, yeah. Because he's a really nice guy and he really likes her, but not that way. Or maybe he just really doesn't want to leave Notre Dame. But Josh, this is the 3rd visit in 4 games for Duce Knight. For a Notre Dame commitment who, they're not supposed to be visiting other schools. He's coming back next weekend, as far as we know, for an official visit for the Oklahoma game. at some point you think he's going to have to make a decision. Of course, we've also heard that he might go back to Notre Dame in middle of October. Does winning, if Auburn's 4-0 right now, typically I would say yes, but for Duce Knight, who is he's an anomaly in recruiting almost. He's predictably unpredictable.
Right.
So I really don't know. I lean more towards no, because we've all been digging behind the scenes, and I'm learning more and more about him and his feelings and what he's got to say. And I would lean more towards no. Auburn would probably still be battling for him, but who knows with him?
Right. Yeah. All right. 2 more flip targets on campus I want to talk about. They were Caleb Cunningham, committed to Alabama, and Shamar Arnaud, committed to USC. We know Caleb Cunningham has been impressed with Auburn during the summer. He named Auburn his leader after taking a visit there. It seemed like the Tigers had a lot of traction with him, and now he's back out on the plains for this game. Obviously, the game didn't go the way that Auburn fans, Auburn coaching staff had wanted, but what did this visit do for Caleb Cunningham in his recruitment to Auburn?
Not what Auburn wanted it to do, which was they wanted it to move the needle a little bit for him. And he was really honest, Josh. After the game, talking to us, he was very honest. I really love this kid. I love his willingness to engage and talk to reporters and be open and honest and genuine when he does. And his concern with Auburn back in the summer was the lack of quarterback in this class, the lack of quarterback moving forward. Alabama had Keelan Russell. It was an easy decision for him. He has such good relationships with Marcus Davis, with Derek Nix, with Hugh Freeze. They're all very tight. I think the biggest relationship with Auburn's attempt to flip Caleb Cunningham is going to be with Duce Knight. And I asked him point blank, is Duce Knight flipping to Auburn's best chance of flipping you from Bama? Probably so. So if it doesn't happen, that's not going to happen. And even if it does, it's not a foregone conclusion that he's going to flip, but it's the only chance Auburn really has with Caleb Cunningham is to get Duce Knight in this class.
Yeah, I agree. I think especially after that show, you would have loved to see a Cam Coleman go for 120 yards and 2 touchdowns in this type of game with Caleb Cunningham on the sideline. Doesn't go that way, but hey, Caleb Cunningham, maybe he makes it back to the Plains. They get a do-over, per se, if they're playing better down the road. Now, how about Shamar Arnaud? He's out of the state of Georgia, committed to USC. There were some rumors that, he was going to come in, maybe not. He ends up showing up, and what are you hearing now that visit has concluded?
Now, I think Shamar is one you're going to keep a closer eye on. Auburn has been on this guy. He was kind of in the background because there were so many other defensive backs. It's such a big defensive back class for Auburn. And it was like, okay, Shamar committed to USC, but Auburn gets this guy, Eric Winters and Devin Williams and Blake Woodby, and it starts filling up. And you go, well, how big of a need is Shamar to Auburn? He's very big. Auburn really loves this kid. They really want him in this class. It was very big for them to get him back on campus Saturday. I think it was the first time he's been back to Auburn since he committed. And he was a pretty frequent visitor to Auburn before that USC commitment. There's a lot of good relationships. And one thing about this staff, 2 things about this staff, they build relationships and they get kids on campus. And they're able to do that. So getting him back was big. I think Auburn's going to continue to push for him, push for Neem Alford, who also was back in Auburn on Saturday, and see if they can't get one or both of these guys to join them.
Yeah, it's going to be regardless of the start, there's still a lot of this season left.
Sure.
Got to play better on the field. The recruiting class is still great. I mean, don't get us wrong. They just might not be able to be as aggressive as we expected them to be in the fall heading into the winter. So we'll just got to see, but still hanging in there at number 5, number 6 in the country right now in recruiting rankings. So Auburn fans, talk to Jeff Lee and I. Well, how are we feeling? I mean, coming out of this one, how is Auburn staff going to sell it? If you were coaching Auburn, how would you sell this to recruits? Let us know. Comment section below. Let's talk LSU recruiting. The Tigers dropped UCLA 34-17, a lopsided victory at home to improve to 3-1. Brian Kelly and the Tigers, they have On3's number 3 ranked recruiting class, and many of their commits were back on campus, including a couple targets. We're going to break it all down. We're going to go behind the scenes of this big visit weekend. I got LSU insider Shea Dixon on here. He was on the sidelines for yesterday's big win. We're going to break it all down. But first, LSU fans, hit subscribe to the On3 Recruits channel. We're out here talking LSU recruiting all season long, so jump on board and hit subscribe. All right, let's bring in Shea Dixon. We're going to start with some big news right off the top. Number one defensive lineman in the 26 class, maybe 25 class, but 26 class for now. Jakeem Stewart was on campus. Shea, why was this significant?
Well, you say it there. When you talk about number one player, they have one committed right now, and Bryce Underwood is the number one overall prospect in this 2025 class. Then you look ahead to 2026, and 3 of the top 10 players right now on the On3 rankings are from Louisiana. 2 of them are from Baton Rouge, the only one not being Jakeem Stewart. And Josh, obviously, it's been a couple of weeks now, but the big news to start the month was that he withdrew from St. Aug, made his way over to Carr. A lot of people speculated, is he going to go to IMG? Will he leave the state? I called it a massive recruiting win. Both, it's like the pre-commitment, if you want to put it that way, if this goes well for LSU, because they didn't want Jakeem leaving the state. He ends up going over to Edna Carr and staying in the city. We'll see, Josh, what's going to happen with this reclassification. But for me, 1, great thing to have him on campus. 2, as we look at a reclassification, a potential one, good thing to keep him in Louisiana. A great thing to keep him in Louisiana for LSU's chances.
Yeah, and now getting him on campus was huge because he's been to Ohio State, he's been to USC, he's been all over kind of recently. Seeing him show back up in Baton Rouge, that was huge. So if this thing does go to the 25 cycle, say he reclassifies up to 2025, I mean, it's going to be a microwaved recruitment because you can't take your official visits until you're a quote-unquote senior. Right now, he's still considered a junior. So if he is reclassified, he's going to have those official visits available to him. Do you know right now what LSU strategy is going to be? Is it going to be strike fast, get him on campus, or do they maybe wait till the season ends and try to get him on right before that December early signing period?
I think right now the ball is in Jakeem's court in the sense of they're working through things, and you could call it behind the scenes, but really just in his daily life with Edna Carr of making sure he's got all the courses he needs to be enrolled in to then be able to reclassify, because you don't leave St. Aug for Edna Carr and have to sit. Reminder, this is a big point of emphasis here. He's not playing this year, and he already sat out his freshman year because of transfer rules. So you're not going to be willing to risk another season of sitting out for no reason if you aren't reclassifying. So I think the goal right now is making sure he's in a spot, right, Josh, where he's got the course credits, he knows what he needs to take in the fall semester. I'd be hard-pressed to believe, given how late in the process he's doing this, that switching schools, that he would come out in December, right? I could be wrong, but that may mean, hey, what do you need to take in the fall and the spring to be able to reclassify? And if so, then you can go ahead and make that move. But I think we have not heard anything public about it yet because they want to make sure, hey, look, every single duck's in a row before we say, I'm now a member of this 25 class.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, now, it was a great atmosphere for this UCLA matchup at home. Well, a little hot on the east side of the stadium. I know the
recruits hang on the west side of the stadium.
The west side, the atmosphere was electric, but it was also just a great time for commits to be in town. One of them was 5-star DJ Pickett, but who were the most important commitments to get back on campus for this big visit weekend?
Obviously, Jakeem Stewart being a number one overall prospect, a massive D lineman, which is a position they need help with, but any school will take a massive D lineman, especially a guy who can help on the interior or at end. He's ranked number one for a reason, Josh, and will end up a 5-star for a reason. So he's a big one. I circled 2 guys. Aiden Anding out of Ruston, he couldn't make it. They went over to Texas and beat Longview in a big game on Friday night. Got back late into Louisiana, but 2 guys who did make it for a 2:30 kickoff, DJ Pickett coming in from Florida and Cade Phillips coming in from Texas. Texas obviously had a commitment from Cade Phillips. LSU flipped him less than a month after he committed over the summer. And in that same span, obviously, they beat out the likes of Miami and Oregon for Pickett. So on 3, Josh, number 1 and number 7 corners, I won't speak for our rankings team. I just know the trajectory that Phillips is on and where he's been ranked, that you could be looking at Corey Raymond coming in after spending that time at Florida, Brian Kelly hiring him back to LSU, and Raymond immediately delivering 2 top 5 corners from the national landscape, from outside the state, and then locking down a guy like Aiden Anding in Ruston. So Right now, I think the cornerback rebuild on the field is one we're watching play out in real life. But the good thing, or in real time, I should say, the good thing is coming soon, the DJ Pickett's, the Cade Phillips, the Andings of the world will be on this roster. And we've seen tons of freshmen compete for playing time over the years at cornerback when Corey Raymond was the coach, including now with PJ Woodland. So help is on the way. I will also say, Josh, your seat a little warm. Another guy who sat there not too long ago, Harlem Berry, was back at the game. Our number one running back and On3 industry number one running back right now, a 5-star. He and Bryce Underwood did their best to put on a show in your studio there. And JT Lindsay, LSU's other a 4-star running back commit here in Louisiana, was on campus after putting on a huge show on Friday night, multiple touchdowns and a big win over Destrehan for Ash. So all in all, I didn't think this was going to be a big recruiting weekend. It turned into a huge one. I thought it was sort of save it all for Ole Miss. You know, it's a 2:30 game here against UCLA. How many guys can make it in? They ended up buckling in and having a really big recruiting weekend in Baton Rouge.
Yeah, I always expected that there was going to be more than, what we were hearing throughout the week, and having a guy like a Jakeem Stewart paired up with the DJ Pickett, the Harlem Berries of the world, it was a big visit weekend. Now, there's two more guys and their brothers I want to talk to you about before we get out of this LSU segment. DBs Jacob and Blaine Bradford were on campus. Now, Jacob is a 2025 recruit committed to Houston. Blaine Bradford's a 2026 recruit, not just any 2026 recruit. He's the number one safety in that class, and they were both on campus. So is Jacob Bradford a flip target, or is the priority his younger brother, Blaine Bradford? Or are they a package deal?
I don't think they're a package deal, and I think currently the priority is Jacob Bradford. I don't think enough people are talking about it, given when they've expanded with so many NCAA rule changes now to 105 scholarship players. You're needing to take more Louisiana guys than ever, because far too often we see guys go to TCU, Houston, some out-of-state schools, Virginia, Dontavian Wicks, who plays for the Packers now. He played right across the river here in Plaquemine, but it feels like you shake a tree and 5 receivers fall off of it. So if you're evaling right, you make the right offers, you can land and develop some really, really good future NFL-type players out of Louisiana. And both Bradfords are guys at Catholic who have been really standouts in the secondary for them. Jacob's commitment to Houston isn't a random one either. Remember, Josh, Willie Fritz is the head coach over at Houston. Mm-hmm. A lot of that staff came from Tulane, so they've got some deep ties in Louisiana. They've got a lot of kids committed from Louisiana. But I will say that they would love to get Jacob Bradford in this class. And obviously, if you do, that does help set you up in a little bit better of a spot, maybe, for next year, when Blaine Bradford, one of the 3 guys I mentioned who are ranked in On3's top 10 nationally from Louisiana, with 2 of them being Baton Rouge guys, he and Lamar Brown. Lamar Brown was also at the game yesterday. So recruiting, a number 3 class, Josh, right now for LSU, that is great. It's the best of the Kelly era. Next year has got a chance to be just as good, in large part because of how good Louisiana is with a kind of deep recruiting class. More than double-digit kids have already been offered.
Yeah, good point. Well, what turned out to be just maybe a middle-of-the-road visit weekend in September turns out to be quite a pivotal weekend, especially with Jakeem Stewart being on campus. So LSU fans, talk to Shay and I. How are we feeling coming out of this visit weekend about Jakeem Stewart, about some potential flips, and do we think that DJ Pickett sticks? Is he going to sign with the Tigers? Let us know. Comment section below.
Josh, Mario Nash as well, another flip target, was there. Mississippi State commit.
Yeah, we'll talk about him in another video.